Hi, my name is Thais Gibson, and I'm the owner and founder of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and this is a channel where we are creating tons of free content that's personal development for your subconscious mind. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about indecisiveness. So I think everybody, to some degree, at some point in time, has felt that sense of really struggling to make a decision and really feeling on the fence and often feeling learned helplessness or stuck or frustrated as a result of these different experiences. So let's say you're really feeling indecisive, and I don't mean like the person who, now and then we get a little indecisive, but I mean the person who's like perpetually indecisive, like has a hard time making up their mind in reference or in regards to like what we want to eat for dinner. If you're that person, these are going to be some of the roots or patterns that you experience at some point, usually in early childhood in your life. And we're going to help you learn how to transform them today. So one of the first things that we experience around indecisiveness is we often had a pattern of our lives or a sort of space and time in our lives where we were constantly feeling invalidated or diminished or dismissed for our decisions. So maybe we would make a decision and our parents would be like, no, you're not doing that. Or maybe we would come up with ideas and try to be the leader of the pack in our little group of friends at school, and our friends would be like, nah, we don't want to do that. That's not a good idea. And to some degree, we felt like a sense of rejection or just feeling let down, disappointed, those same sorts of feelings of like invalidated and dismissed, literally because we were making decisions and it just wasn't going well. And so what happens is our brain has come to associate pain with making decisions. And it's like, oh, you know what, this doesn't feel so good. It doesn't usually go well. We basically get a pattern of negative reinforcement. And because the subconscious mind is programmed most specifically through repetition plus emotion, if there's a general amount of negative emotion elicited, and this happens repeatedly over time, our brain's like, no, we're not gonna go there and make more decisions. It doesn't feel good. And so our brain, being wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure, is like we're staying away from making decisions. So that's one really key point. Another thing is sometimes, or let's say more often than not, we had really controlling parents in childhood. And basically when we would want to make decisions, oftentimes our parents just like bulldozed exactly what we were trying to do. So let's say we were like, Mom, I want to play soccer. And your mom's like, no, you're going to sit down and do your homework. And let's say this was like perpetual and constant. And let's say it was even to the point where any sort of feelings of like autonomy or having a sense of your own specific and personal values supported in childhood was just non-existent. Well, what happens? You learn that you can't make decisions. You see from your parents all the time, or maybe it's from other controlling people in your life, but really it seriously is usually your primary caregivers, or if this is way later in life, sometimes it's from having a really controlling partner. But to some degree, you learn that, okay, I can't make decisions, so I outsource my power, and then when I actually have to make a decision at some point, it's like, I don't know how to do this, I'm out of practice. And so that will play a huge role or have a huge impact on our capacity to make clear and strong and assertive decisions in our own lives. Next, we often have this like really strong conditioned fear of making mistakes. So let's say at some point in our lives we did make decisions and then something terrible happened, or let's say more often than not we made decisions and they were the wrong decisions, or let's even say that there was one time that we made a decision and it just went really badly and it really traumatically impacted our lives to some degree. The brain goes, this is scary, this doesn't feel good again. We are staying away from this, and it's easier to make no decision than to make a decision. But here's the thing, making no decisions or not taking action towards making a decision is still making a decision. It's just making a decision not to do anything. So keep that in mind. Lastly, sometimes we'll really struggle with indecisiveness when we have really strong competing needs. So for some people, maybe they've got a really busy work week and they come home at the end of the work week and they sort of have to make a choice. Like, do I want to do something social with my friends, or do I want to spend time with my partner? And maybe they only have one free night a week, and there's that sort of sense of competing needs. And right in and of that experience, there's a little bit of indecisiveness. Another good example is like maybe you're supposed to hang out with a friend, but you really need some time to yourself. You might experience a feeling of indecisiveness there. But more often than not, in that very specific case, what you'll see is that type of indecisiveness is this feeling of like push-pull. Like, I want to do this, but I want to do this. I want to do this, but I'm held back. As opposed to sort of this like, oh, I just can't make a decision and I feel kind of helpless and hopeless and really disempowered around that. Either way, both are forms of indecisiveness, but you can sort of tune in and see like, what type of indecisiveness am I experiencing and what are its roots? So which of those 4 key patterns, and check in with yourself. Next we're going to talk about specifically like how to solve and transcend this. So number 1, I'm going to actually stand on this side so you can see better. Number 1, we have to get fully conscious. Like, we have to be able to go, why is this difficult for me? I feel stuck here. I feel disempowered. Why? What is going on? Which of these key elements is it? Is it that I feel like there's no point because I'm so used to having negative associations to making decisions because they were either invalidated, dismissed, bulldozed, or met with mistakes? Like, what is it? What's going on inside of me? So we have to pull that stuff up that's stored there subconsciously. Next, and we really want to question it. Like, most of the time, this stuff is completely stored irrationally. So let's say, for example, I made a decision in childhood and my best friend rejected it and I really suffered over that rejection. And let's say my friend even, abandoned me as a friend and made new friends on the playground the next day and I felt all alone. I might actually have a stored subconscious fear that says, if you make a decision and it's wrong, which it probably will be because you got that, you had that experience fairly often, you're going to be rejected and alone. And like, we have to pull this stuff up because if we are not conscious of what's subconsciously governing us emotionally beneath the surface, we are the victim of it. And it becomes really challenging from that perspective. So we want to pull that stuff up, question it. Can I actually seriously know that I'm going to be rejected and alone just because I make a choice? And that right there, you'll see like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. And you'll get this little like feeling of relief, this sort of relieving yourself of that stored stuff beneath the surface there. Next, you also want to be like, what do I seriously feel in this moment? Imagine that you're whiting everybody out. Maybe you feel like you have all these obligations to friendships and social and all these different places in your life. Pause. Imagine that just for a moment, you white out everybody. It's only you that matters. Tune into your feelings. If you're indecisive, you're probably struggling to actually feel your emotions. So tune into your feelings and be like, what do I actually feel in this moment? What do I seriously need? And if you're doing that, now you're going to be making fully conscious decisions. If you're not, you're just going to be making decisions according to whatever stored programs you have there subconsciously that are rooted beneath the surface. And that's not going to go well eventually. That's going to come with maybe like a short-term positive and a long-term negative or some kind of detriment in there. Lastly, check out what your competing needs are. And there's a really cool way of like categorizing competing needs if you have them. Like, what's urgent versus what's important. And, where am I focused on in my life right now? Am I focused on the important things, the long-term goals and visions? Or am I focused on like sort of the lower level goals that happen to have like upcoming deadlines or that have a little bit of a sense of urgency, and weigh those two things? Like, what's more meaningful and impactful in my life at this moment? How am I doing towards my long-term goals? Am I feeding the important, or am I only taking care of the urgent? And if so, I'm disempowered to some degree in my life. And if I'm feeling like I'm only doing the important things, but I'm kind of like skating by and glossing over the deadlines and the urgent matters in my life, that's not good either. So check in. Where am I in my life? Like, where am I balanced or imbalanced? Let me see. And you can always reorganize your time that way. So let's say I'm like, okay, you know what? Tonight, I'm going to work on something that's more urgent as opposed to important, but tomorrow that'll work. I'll make that extra pocket of time to work on the important goals. So you're still managing the different priorities in your life, but you have to get tuned into yourself. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling helpless, chances are you've gone through some of these key patterns in your life. Tune into yourself, feel, get fully conscious, and see what's going on so that you can be clear about the decisions that you are making for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it, share it, subscribe to our channel, and we're going to be putting out as many really specific videos as possible just to help you really get educated about your subconscious and these stored patterns and how to really create change. Feel free. We've got awesome upcoming courses, videos, all kinds of stuff online at www.personaldevelopmentschool.com. Thank you so much for watching.